Silk and Nylon by Bryn, Hannah, Elizabeth, and Mitchell. An introduction to silk and nylon. The discovery of silk and nylon led to the development of new materials, new textiles, and a whole new industry. Both these polymers contributed in their own way to economic prosperity of their time. Since then, nylon has now taken over silk's jobs throughout time. Historical time frame and impact. Silk was founded all the way back from 2640 BC and is still used today in the modern world. Trade of silk spread slowly, but the 1st century BC regular shipments of silk were arriving in the West. In the 1920s, companies were trying to create an artificial silk to be less cost-effective, and then the first commercial use of nylon, which was the artificial silk created, was in 1938. During World War II, nylon was used often for the war because of its cost. Geographic. The Silk Road was a big part of the trade of silk, and it extended from Beijing to Byzantine and to Antioch and Tyre all the way to northern India. Macclesfield and Spitalfield in England became major centers for finely woven silk. North America attempted cultivating silk but were unsuccessful. In the early 20th century, the U.S. was one of the largest manufacturers of silk and nylon goods in the world. Individuals. Princess He Sling Shi found that a delicate thread of silk would be unwound from an insect cocoon that had fallen into her tea. We don't know if this is a myth or true, but it started a spark of silk. Silk was initially limited to be worn by members of the imperial family and the nobility to show signs of richness and royalty, but since now it is a common modern-day thing for everyone to use silk. Louis XI granted tax exemptions for silk weavers in the city of Laos and ordered the manufacture of silk for the royal court in 1466. A major key person, which you see in the right bottom hand corner, is Wallace Carothos, a DuPont fiber silk chemist that discovered nylon, which is a man-made fiber that has properties closest to silk, and it took a really long period of time, but through a bunch of work he was able to discover nylon, which is very, very similar to silk. The process of obtaining silk from the silkworm. First, the silkworm lays hundreds of eggs. Second, the eggs must be kept at hatching temperature of 77 degrees Fahrenheit to keep warm. 3, after a few months, they are moved to spinning cocoons. 4, the cocoons are then heated to kill the chrysalis inside. 5, the cocoons are plunged into boiling water to dissolve the sticky secretion holding the threads together. 6, pure silk thread is then unwound from the cocoon and wound onto reels. Molecules for silk and nylon. The silk molecule is obviously to the left, and the nylon molecule is obviously to the right, and they look very different, but they're actually kind of similar. Both silk and nylon have an amide link that eliminates the molecule of water. The specific molecules that can be found are NH2, COOH, CH3, and CH2OH. Silk and nylon were originally used for clothes and stockings and probably toothbrush bristles, which was the first thing for nylon. But since then, it's gotten more into depth and we've learned more about it, and so we've been able to use it for fishing lines and nets, strings for tennis and badminton rackets, surgical sutures, which shows that it really is very helpful even in the medical field, coating for electrical wires, furnishing and carpet, and it was especially important in World War II when it was used for ropes, parachutes, and weather balloons. Many of you might be wondering why nylon was starting to be chosen over silk, and it was because silk was becoming scarce, so chemists had to create a new artificial silk to replace silk temporarily, and throughout time, nylon was created and became far less expensive than silk, And then nylon started replacing more and more products of silk, such as the parachutes, which were part of the silk. And silk is still used today, but the creation of nylon, it makes more sense to use nylon in this time period.